Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Mailo, one of the co-hosts of the Physician Empowerment Podcast. At Physician Empowerment, we're dedicated to improving the lives of Canadian physicians, personally, professionally, and financially. If you're loving what you're listening to, let us know. We always want to hear your feedback. Connect with us. If you want to go further, we've got outstanding programming both in person and online. So look us up. But regardless, we hope you really enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Mailo, and I'm here with Wing tonight, and we are going to be interviewing a truly phenomenal medical couple, Dr. Renee Jacques and her husband, Dr. Samuel Peters. Both are family physicians based out of Sudbury, Ontario. And we have these incredible guests on our show where we sometimes struggle to, describe them because they wear so many hats. So you guys raise a large family, lots of young kids. You've got this dynamic full-time medical practice or nearly full-time medical practice, each of you. And then you have your own clinic, you have other programs there, lots of entrepreneurial endeavors. But why don't I hand things over to Wing to sort of highlight a little bit more about what you guys are doing and get you to share a bit of your journey.
Yes. Okay. Welcome everyone to this very, very exciting episode. This is kind of a kick-off of a new series. We already have interviewed other medical entrepreneurs, right? I think Kevin interviewed one, I interviewed one. But this is a new series that we're kicking off, and I'm very excited about this because I think...
Yeah, and one other thing I was just going to add, sure. Our Sam and Renee are actually part of our Masterclass, and it's been just awesome having them because it is so inspiring what they do. So just so the listener knows how we connected, it was through Physician Empowerment's Lifetime Masterclass. So again, Wing, I'm just going to hand it back to you, sure. And then I'm done.
Sure. Yeah. And so we come across a lot of entrepreneurs at different stages of their career, right? And so I believe that medical entrepreneurship is an important concept, and lots of people have that in their mind. They just thought, what does it take, right, to get this off? So without further ado, I want you to meet Sam and Renee. And Sam and Renee, why don't you tell us each of your professional background? What were you doing all the way up to med school, and then what kind of practices you each have?
Sure. So I can start. Born and raised in Sudbury, and grew up playing lots of sports, and always had an interest in medicine at the end of the day. I went out to Acadia and studied some physics out there. I was always interested in like black and white kind of problem solving, that kind of stuff. And then eventually got into medical school and then went into family medicine from there.
Right. And stayed right there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
My story is kind of similar. Also, I was born in a small northern city of Kapuskasing, but raised in Sudbury. I did a lot of sports as well. Growing up, went into kinesiology, graduated from that, played a bit of soccer along the way. Applied again to the Northern Ontario School of Medicine in Sudbury, same as Sam, and we graduated medical school there. We applied for family medicine residency, so we finished that up in 2018, again in Sudbury at the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, and we started working right away and just kind of seeing what we could do. And we were really fortunate. We were able to go through medical school and family medicine residency program together. So we've been with each other for a long time now.
Yeah, that's just dovetails into the next thing, right? So how do you become a couple, and how many kids later now?
Yeah, so we ended up having our first son in at the end of residency, and then 3 of our other children just kind of back to back after that.
On the way, yeah.
Our baby's 2 years old now, and our oldest son is 6 years old. So we're kind of almost out of the diaper soon.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, we have 3, and I remember my wife Kitty said, I feel like a diaper changing machine, right? So I know exactly how you guys feel now. Okay, so you've been together the bulk of your life. Well, not quite, but you're all from the same small town, right? And you stay there as a couple, right? So that's absolutely amazing, right? I think this day and age that is a rarity, right? And why would you guys stay in family med? Like it's like nationally, it's kind of now the not popular thing to do. So tell us more about primary practice, like primary care practice. What is it like?
Yeah, I think like for us and like knowing Sudbury, like there's in Northern Ontario definitely been a big need, and Awesome was pretty big. The Northern Ontario School of Medicine was always pretty big on trying to like encourage family medicine, and I guess we kind of drank the Kool-Aid a bit, but we grown to really love like what we do, and I think it's been a pretty rewarding career. I think the biggest reason why I really chose it is just that it allows independence, and freedom in your own practice. You're not necessarily tied to a particular hospital or job or operating room or anything like that. So you really have freedom to express your ideas and do and create what you want and make out of it. I think that's what I really like about it, actually. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm the same. I've always really enjoyed. I think I always knew I'd be going into family medicine, but I have a long family history of physicians and family medicine being in particular. So for me, it was kind of just natural to kind of flow into that kind of career. And I think, yeah, the independence is so important. So for us, it's been really valuable.
But it does come with its hectic demands.
Of course.
Right. So you guys doing hospital, office, everything in between?
Yeah. So when we started our practice, we actually, I think similar to yourself there, Wing, like we went out and we actually purchased the practice when nobody was really doing it, and we were right at a strange time in the family health organizations and not being sure if they're going to be around any longer or not. So we felt that purchasing a practice was the safest route. At the end of the day, I think we could have probably done things probably a little bit differently, but it's the information that we had at the time. And ultimately, we're really happy with the practices that we ended up with. We actually ended up taking over another practice a few years later. And for us, we learned from our first experience and felt like it was actually still worth purchasing another practice, really. So then that's what we ended up doing. So we actually have a fairly large practice between each other, about panel or roster about 3,500 patients. So it certainly has kept us busy. And then having the kids throughout has meant, some covering for each other from time to time as well. And figuring out locums and juggling all those things has been quite the journey.
Sure. So you finished med school, right? Residency. Not only did you not just like the typical millennial Gen Z, whatever, right? Like do locums, and do hospitalist. You actually jump right in, both feet wet, bought practices, then bought another practice, right? And so how many doctors now in your clinic?
Yeah, so like when we first started, I think we had the entrepreneurial bug like in residency or even in medical school. And when we started, we created the clinic. So our clinic was in the process of being built up just at the end of our residency, essentially, as we took over that first practice. And so now we have an office of currently 6 physicians, and then we're currently in the process of expanding. So by the end of the year, we're looking to be 10 physicians.
Wow. And then you don't just stop there, right? You have this entrepreneurial bug bite, right? That's so infectious, right? And then so you moved on, and tell us more about the rest of your entrepreneurial journey, right? You buying buildings and whatever, right? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So when we were medical school students, we thought that we can just go out there and go and build our own building coming out of it. So we were doing things like traveling to Toronto and talking to CEOs of big imaging companies and the lab companies and trying to negotiate deals and to build something, right? Looking back at that now, I kind of like laugh at myself a little bit, but we definitely had some like humbling experiences then. But at the same time, we really made some great connections with some of the leaders at some of the big companies in Ontario, and I think it actually came to pay us back. And at the end of the day, later on now, because the building that we were actually leasing before it came up for sale, and there was another building as well in Sudbury, and they're fairly large buildings between the two, 110,000 square feet commercial buildings.
110,000 square feet.
Yeah,
not 1,000, right? Just say.
Yeah, so I think they're great buildings overall, and we were able to get them at reasonable prices, and it was a really exciting thing because we also kind of bleed Sudbury a bit, and we wanted to start being part of the change. And a lot of the ownership previously of these buildings were, out of town and kind of absentee ownerships, and I think there's a lot of opportunities in medicine to like create new solutions and bring in like new specialists or new services. And being involved on the landlord side, didn't really realize it before, but it really allows us to help create new ventures and new opportunities and new connections and networks, right? So
I totally agree, right? Now that you're in the driver's seat, you can actually hash out the path of your future and other people's futures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not an entrepreneur, you actually would not be given that opportunity.
Right, exactly.
Right? And so, okay, keep on. So what kind of ventures? Can you categorically tell us what are the ventures? What are the inhabitants of these buildings and what's next? Who's coming to town?
Yes. So one of the newer like ventures or things coming to Sudbury now is like hyperbaric medicine. So that's something that just wasn't available for patients in Northern Ontario previously, but because of the connections I think that we've made, and one of the partners actually that's involved in the building has helped us kind of create a space for hyperbaric medicine. So
so other than, which is very exciting, it's not part of today, right? I actually know a little bit about that. That could be a different topic for a different day, but very exciting in the scientific front. So what other projects are you guys doing, real estate and otherwise?
Yeah, so I mean, besides the hyperbaric medicine and managing our own office as an own practice, we've also been working and developing an online platform just to help with our like day-to-day office management tasks, mostly the prescription, the redundancies and things that you end up doing and spending a lot of hours on, we found with our platform. So we created a whole platform. That was about 3 years ago that project actually had started, and it's now saving us 3-4 hours each a week. And that's why we initially did it, just to save ourselves the time, because time is so precious, especially when you're juggling so many things, including a family and everything like that. So we found that that's been really beneficial too.
That's very exciting. So is it kind of an AI based, like, or is it just a way to shorten your EMR note-taking time?
Yeah, for us, like one thing that we noticed is like prescription renewals coming in like every morning, every day was taking us a lot of hours, like for ourselves and for staff. We're getting 1,500 prescription requests basically every month through our whole office, right? So we just really streamlined that process and actually provided a lot more control for the patients as well, and more involvement for the patients. So now the patients can use this platform, make a request directly to us, and then it kind of cuts out these recurring faxes from the pharmacy and really gets the patients involved in their own health in a more like beneficial and kind of a more of a partnership kind of way. That's really been changing our patient behaviors and our practices, and it had really helped us like transform our practices more into the practices that we want to have.
Right. And so this life-changing, practice-changing platform is not just for the 10, 11 physicians. You're now exporting this platform out, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're right at the cusp of basically having other physicians outside of our own city. So talked to a lot of physicians. They have the same problem, and about 20 of them now have signed up just locally. Some of our local, like our colleagues, and it's been a great experience so far. And so we see the value that we've been able to help provide, and I think we can help a lot of other doctors. And for us, the platform itself, like it's not going to make you retire any faster, but the same time, it's really about changing your practice and helping you save time, because I think that's what we're seeing nowadays, especially in family medicine, and how you mentioned earlier, like it's getting a worse and worse rep is just the burden of paperwork. It's almost becomes insurmountable, and for us, we're hoping to be able to implement some AI features and enhance the product as it continues. And one of the great things about, again, being in control of one of these things is like we work with our physicians as almost partners in the product. And if they have ideas and things that they want to see implemented, we go ahead and do that right away, which has been a lot of fun, actually. And we've had some great ideas come up that way.
I think you got some really good ones in our previous discussions. You have this mathematical model about even the fee split with associates. You have, this thing that I've never heard of. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff here with your physics background, how you turn practice into a mathematical equation, right? So
too many spreadsheets.
Yeah. Now let's hold on for a second. So let me count, right? You guys are what, 6-7 years in practice, right?
Yeah, since 2018.
So yeah, and you got 4 kids, you got both practices, you got 11 physicians, you got 110,000 square feet, you got hyperbaric chamber medicine, and then you got a platform to launch. How do you juggle with all these duties? Patients, clinic heads, entrepreneurial, landlord, 4 kids under the age of 6, right? And being spouses. How do you juggle all that?
I think we go day by day, week by week, and then month by month. But overall, I think we really we lean on each other, as well as like our kind of immediate kind of family. It would be impossible without having our close family nearby for us, as well as having a great kind of just staff and kind of colleagues. We really take pride in just kind of surrounding ourselves with people with similar energy and goals. And for us, I think that really makes things work well. So everyone's an expert in their role, and we try to stay in our roles and delegate as much as possible. But I think for us, that's a secret sauce, to try to manage everything. And balance comes here and there, some days are a little bit more heavy on one thing and a little bit lighter on the other. But overall, we try to kind of keep things in check as much as possible.
Right. So I think most people who are thinking about being an entrepreneur, other than being in your trade, right, being a physician in this case, they say, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. I can't catch up. I got nothing left, no wind left in the sail, whatever you call it. So how do you find that energy and brain space to stay focused on so many other projects?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and part of what it was actually a physician before I graduated, when I was in residency, had told me that you should try to dedicate 5 or 10% of your time to something that you really like doing. And I thought about that, and sure, we like our practice in family medicine, but to be able to work on these projects is I think something that we've developed a real enjoyment of. And it just kind of just refills your tires when you're excited about a project, and you're making new connections, and you're doing things that you may never thought you'd do before or never have done before, or you're learning new things. So it's like almost going back to medical school and having that eagerness, excitement, right? And it's really been reinvigorating. And I think again, like Renee was saying, is working on your strengths. And to describe Renee as our HR lead. She's very great with managing people and expressing her ideas, where I'm usually off daydreaming about something, off to the side and working on sheets. And then it tends to work, right? But
right.
I think tend to figure it out and work together well.
So I think what is unique also about you guys is that you are so together, right? And in terms of the goals and dreams, right? You are in alignment, right? That you're pursuing this thing together, and that makes the night and day difference, right? It's enough to have one spouse go and the other spouse to say, okay, I support you, right? To have both go at it, I think that's real breath of fresh air, right? But at least people have to be aligned, right? And because spouse A has this direction, spouse B has that direction, right? Or one is a go-getter, one is a stopper, right? It's a showstopper, right? And it's just a no-go, right? And sometimes and oftentimes it creates so much friction, right? So I just got interviewed by Cherry Chen. She's one of our speakers at the Toronto conference. She's got her YouTube channel. She's an accountant. And in the interview, she said, God secretly gave you 48 hours a day to do all your entrepreneurial stuff. And I just laugh, right? So same thing, right? Everybody's asking, where do you find the time, right? It's this persistent quality part-time effort, right? You just need to hive off a portion of your brain and a portion of your schedule, right? Everybody's got the same time, right? And you just need to hive that off so that you protect them and just keep sowing seeds, right? Keep watering, irrigating, right? Feeding it, right? So that's awesome. Now, next question I have is, like, people, isn't practicing medicine enough? Aren't you being doctorate enough? Are you greedy? Like, isn't it why doing something else beyond the white collar? Have you ever been thrown that question?
Not yet. Not until today, no.
So going to med school, you invest a lot of time, money. So you're not happy. Why do you do something else?
Yeah, I think again, it's just like the freedom to allow yourself to be creative in various ways, and medicine allows that in one area, and entrepreneurship allows that in others. And what better way to express that creativity in something that we know, right? And so we know medicine, and from that we extrapolate and we learn the systems and how things work and why things are like this and why things are like that, and then from there we can create change. And for us that is irreplaceable almost, and like that excitement that comes with that is so rewarding and sometimes very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, why am I doing this? I could just do an extra day of office medicine, and but sometimes you get these moments of joy and just something that you can't get in something else, right? So it's not that it's better than the other, it's just that it provides that piece that you do need, that everyone does need, I think, and they get it from different things, right? For us, we get that from entrepreneurship, and others might get it from other things. But if that does spark joy for people, like, we definitely encourage other physicians to do it, because it's allowed us to create this, for example, wonderful platform that, there are other platforms like it out there, but we do take pride in that ours is slightly different, because we're on the ground, boots on the ground, doing this stuff every day, and we know the pain points. And so when we created something after looking around and just kind of trying to find something to fit our office management kind of systems, we couldn't really find anything that we really thought would be good or great, and so why not try to create something with similar features but slightly different? And the slightly different makes a huge difference for us.
Mm-hmm.
So just these type of things, why not try? And so we did, and here we are, and who knows what will happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it will end here, we hope not, but at least the journey, you learn so much and you meet so many people, right? And for us, that's also irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So.
And I think part of what, like, the way I look at it too is, like, practice is great, but it's sometimes like working on your practice rather than just in your practice makes a lot of sense. And we're also coming at it from the view of, like, we're trying to make family medicine better, like at least locally, trying to make it better as a thing to practice in, because, well, we want to try to attract more physicians to family medicine and to Sudbury if we can, right? So
Yeah.
by being able to, like, work on those things that just create or just elevates things for everybody and makes everybody's experience better, that's also a big part of our goals, because that just helps more patients get care at the end of the day too, and it's not direct patient care one-on-one in the office with people, but we can have a bit of a broader impact and help some others as well.
Right. Let me repeat what Sam, you said, is working on the practice, not just in the practice. The simple change of words in the preposition makes huge difference, right? Instead of just being a technician going to work every day, right? You're working on the process, then you're changing the whole thinking, right? And that's what we need to think about. And also some people define what are medical entrepreneurs. Well, entrepreneurs are people who have a vision and change the future because they're not happy with status quo, right? They take the leadership to make the change, right? And then there's a better product, better life for everyone, right? So that I think that's just so awesome. But then, so talking about pain points, what are the risks, struggles, and rewards in your journey being a medical entrepreneur?
Yeah, like I think we've had definitely some lessons along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Renee and I, we've been together since like university, so even before medical school. So it's been a while, and when we got into medical school, at the same time, like we were really excited, and I had a bit of like I had just read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and felt like I can like set the world on fire. I had all these ideas, right, and everything was about like passive income and nothing else, and so then all of a sudden you get this big student line of credit as you're in medical school, and you think you're pretty smart, I guess, at this stage, on top of the world. And so I went out and I actually like made like a business loan to somebody with that credit line.
Wow.
Big chunk of that credit line,
Wow.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I always said, well, what's the worst that can happen? Well, the worst thing did happen, and so I just I had made a loan, and the person wasn't able to keep up with their obligations on their end,
Mm-hmm.
and they ended up, their whole business that ended up going under, and the whole loan itself was just poof, right? Thankfully, I would call this like a lesson, and like it's tuition, right?
Tuition,
like,
yep.
and I think some of the biggest lesson that I learned out of there is like, be very careful who you end up, being partners with, right? And especially when it comes to being a business partner, like you want to be able to like be friends with them, right? It's the same. And I think over time we've gotten to learn like what makes a good impression, maybe not so much, and we've met some more people along the way, and I think we've been able to gauge relationships and really value the new relationships that we've been able to make as well.
Mm-hmm. So what would be the best rewards as a medical entrepreneur? Is it money or is it something else?
No, yeah, it's definitely not money from the beginning. I think it's I think it's just like the reward from those moments where you feel like your creativity has like been expressed or heard or made an impact. I think for us that's what keeps us going, because it can be at the beginning it can be challenging, and it will be ongoing, but you have to enjoy that journey and enjoy that challenge, that's part of it. And so I think it's definitely just the process, and sometimes those tidbits of success, that really make things kind of keep you going, and those successes are definitely measured in different ways, so for us, you just make calculated kind of decisions, and we've sharpened that tool, I guess, along the way together, and just maintaining that team kind of aspect is super important, because if you can't rely on each other, then you can't rely on anyone, kind of thing. So yeah, for us it's been important, and there's definitely risks, rewards, and benefits to all of this,
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes those risks like turn into like surprise rewards, or those experiences just kind of really help you in the future, right? Whether they're positive or negative, like I think you have to like really sit back and reflect on those experiences as they're happening too.
Right.
It's quite the journey, and it's exciting to continue.
Right on. So yeah, each experience, each win and loss shapes you to be the you today, right? And we are all learning from that. The other reward that we talk about is, like you say, is you made an impact, you made a change, right? So I don't know if you remember when you and Sam and Renee, you and I first met, I told you guys, first time we met, on behalf of your future patients and colleagues and your society, your community, thank you for being entrepreneurs, because you're blessing people, right? Because that's what we do, right? In the world of capitalism, you bless people first, right? Then you get paid later, right? You may or may not be paid, but the part of the reward, the payment, is that you made an impact. You made the world a better place, right? Your creativity and your guts, your gumption, your boldness, right? Transform something into something, a better future for everyone. So with that, what advice would you give to any medical listeners who just got bit by the entrepreneurial bug as well and wanted to do something? They just don't know where to start, or just starting, they're just chewing their fingernails up. What would be your advice to your colleagues?
I think we go for it would be the simple. You kind of just start with something, just go ahead and start with something and see where it takes you, try to find a good mentor, try to find someone who's like-minded, set yourself up with like a strong community that way, learn from people, right? So you don't have to learn yourself, and then just listen, and by talking to people, meeting with people, we've learned a lot that way, right? We didn't get taught these things in medical school. We didn't go to business school, so here we are. And just talking a lot, hearing people, different stories, and meeting people has really helped us along the way. So I think that's what I'd say. Go for it, pick something. And then once you picked it, just meet people, talk to people, see how things make sense or not,
Yeah, I'd say the same. Like, go for it and try to make small mistakes early on, or set yourself up for small mistakes. But I think even like connecting with yourself and Kevin has been a really invaluable experience. And I'm so grateful that you guys have really set up this network and provided an ability to have, people to reach out to for just basically mentorship, right? And if we can learn from people that we kind of really look up to and kind of see that path that we'd hope to be able to kind of follow, that's the best people that we can ask our advice from, of course, right? So, and we're lucky to have that.
Right. But thank you for that. That's actually my last question. My last question is, how has joining the Physician Empowerment Masterclass, right? How has that empowered you guys? Because not all our listeners, a lot of them are Masterclass students, but a lot of listeners aren't, right? So what value did you extract from the Masterclass?
Yeah, no, like, so for us, again, it was just like the networking, the listening to like the different ideas, and then, going off and reading about these ideas, in the books and stuff, and seeing, talking to our local kind of team as well. And it's just like, I think the Masterclass just opened us up to this whole other world, really, because just having people who are experts in our kind of world, right? Like the medical world and then the business medical world is very hard to find, So it's very much a niche kind of group, right? So to have people in various different professions come together, that for us was really important, right? Because we're from a small town, right? And so, we're from families who are, just families who've had like professional careers, but, we don't have that exposure to these type of networks. And so for us, it's just so niche, it's hard to find. So we were glad that we connected with you guys.
Well, we're so glad that you guys joined. Okay.
Who knew?
Yeah, right on. Now, so again, want to thank Sam and Renee. When I booked this interview, I said I want to showcase you guys to the world. You guys are such great students.
Well, you guys really embody that spirit of pursuing dreams, despite all the busyness that a medical career demands. And so I think that's really what has been remarkable hearing about your journey. And it's been truly an honor to be there for parts of it or contribute as we have, because yeah, you guys, what you do is truly dynamic.
Yep.
And it's a real service to your community and to your colleagues as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you again. So Sam and Renee, and so for the rest of the crowd, so we would love to interview medical entrepreneurs. So if you want to raise your hand up, let us know. We would love to interview you, and also plug in for Masterclass. So we still have rooms for people to join, and we have a very solid year coming up. All right. So thank you. So this is the end of the official part.
Thank you so much for listening to the Physician Empowerment Podcast. If you're ready to take those next steps in transforming your practice, finances, or personal well-being, then come and join us at phys-empowerment.ca, fizempowerment.ca to learn more about how we can help. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd really appreciate it if you would share our podcast with a colleague or friend, and head over to Apple Podcasts to give us a 5-star rating and review. If you've got feedback, questions, or suggestions for future episode topics, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to join us and be interviewed and share some of your story, we'd absolutely love that as well. Please send me an email at kmilo@fizempowerment.ca. Thank you again for listening. Bye.